na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam nemo vidyuta bhati kutoyam agni tameva bhantam manubhati sarvam tasya sarvam idam vibhati. There the sun does not shine, neither do the moon and stars, nor these flashes of lightning. How can this fire, that shining, all these shine? Through its luster, all these shine variously. We have this great debate about materialism and spirituality. And that has always been there since humankind has lived in both these worlds. And light has always fascinated the human mind from the very beginning. The light, we know from where light comes. Sun, moon, fire, lightning, etc. Even pick up a gem and see how see how beautiful gem is. It's all just light. Of course, and a few carbon molecules. This fascination with light is not transitory, it's not ephemeral. And we see it's light that has made human life possible. In fact, not human life, all light, all life possible. Imagine there's a world where there's only just darkness. There wouldn't be any life. In Greek mythology, you find a titan called Prometheus, that he stole fire from the gods on the Mount Olympus, and he brought it down. He was punished, of course. It also implies light has a divine origins. And also, Prometheus, now you can say, represents all the development and technology and knowledge and even civilization. So that was the story behind this bringing down of fire. So, light is a photon. It's a packet of quantum, a packet or a quantum of light. Elementary particle is a boson. It also the force carrier for the electromagnetic force. At rest, it has zero mass, but because it has momentum, it can move. It's an elementary particle, of course. And the famous double slit experiment showed light is both a particle and has properties of a wave also. So this light, we are learning to break it down slowly and slowly, trying to understand it. And yet its nature eludes us. And the photons, as we know, travel at the speed of light. And that's the speed limit of the universe. Nothing can go faster than that. And they have frequencies, etc. Physics, it's mind-boggling. It's growing, of course. And they are seeing newer and newer applications, newer and newer materials for light, about light. And there's also something called a light therapy, though, which is good. All light is, of course, with energy. And in a way, we are that light. We are that energy. And one of the reasons why the Upanishads, they say a person is light. We have always associated light with knowledge, the light of understanding, and everything that is good, and evil, etc., as dark. Ignorance is dark. But this has always been the duality. These are the two forces, the two natures. And our minds and our bodies work on these principles of duality, light and darkness. Everything that is vile, everything that is small and criminal in nature has darkness. When we close our eyes to meditate, we know what happens. It's all darkness. When we also sing in the Vespers hymn, come to the heart's black cave and illumine, thou light of the lights. What is this light? Is it a material light? No. And if you meditate on materialism, you are going to end up gross materialist. You have to meditate on a spiritual entity. And these spiritual entities is what the Upanishads speaks about as Hiranmaya Purusha Ekahamsa, this infinite radiant being who is immortal. Now comes this idea. We have this infinite, radiant, immortal being there within us. And why is it so hidden then? And that's the reason why you've got to meditate. But if it was so apparent, I mean, not apparent now, if you persist in meditation, slowly I think you will dive deeper and you will come to the light. So meditation begins with this idea that there is a spiritual entity that is radiant, immortal, and infinite. And we've been trying to find this light. And they always say, try to find this light there within. So in one of the Upanishads called the Brihadaranyaka, Janaka, he asks a sage, when the sun and the moon have set, when fire has gone out and speech has stopped, what exactly serves as a light for a person? O Yajnavalkya. But everything is quiet. Everything is... And the answer is, the Atman serves as light. It is through the light of the Atman that he sits, goes out, works, and returns. Now, it's apparent that when the external supports have been dropped off, all luminary objects have been, then you'll see What is this light? It is, as he said, it is through the light of the Atman that a person walks about his life. What is the light of the Atman? Oh, it's a consciousness. When all the senses which apprehend things outside have been kind of disabled, or whatever you call it, that's the light of consciousness. That is the light of the Atman. Further, he says, what is this Atman then? What is the light of consciousness? What is this consciousness? And then the Upanishad says, that infinite entity, it's called the Purusha, that's identified with the intellect and is in the midst of the sense organs. This self-effulgent light within the heart assumes the form of the intellect, and they're saying moves between these two worlds. It thinks, as it were, and shakes, as it were. So this light of consciousness is identified with the intellect, and it's in the midst of the sensory and motor organs. Now, I'm trying to situate this particular light consciousness, where exactly it is. It moves between the two worlds. What two worlds? We are living in one world. The waking and the dream and the deep sleep, etc. So it moves between these worlds. Consciousness moves between these two worlds. And then it's saying it thinks, as it were. And this is where we are trying to search consciousness in brain or whatever. Now they're trying to find the consciousness in biology. Not specifically biology, but in the processes of life. Saying wherever there's life, there has to be this consciousness. And so this has become more universal than trying to find it only in the brain. Because there are many species of beings that do not have a brain like us, but they have life. And we find them conscious. And whenever you find there's life, you will also find there is a mind. So these three things may seem different: life and mind and consciousness, but it's one. And that's the reason why it thinks, as it were, and shakes, as it were. I mean, it's identified with the intellect, and that intellect, as it were, moves, as it were. Intellect moves, and that which is identified with that intellect feels it's moving, as it were. So just to telescope it further down, you find in another Upanishad, Om, he says, there in this small lotus-like dwelling that is within the city of Brahman. I say there's a lotus-like. It is from here that later on we get the idea of the lotuses and chakras, etc. They're lotus-like. And Sri Ramakrishna also authenticates it. Yeah, it's like a lotus-like, not lotus. There is a small space. Now that lotus-like core, that's your heart. Within that, there is a small space. But small? Yes. That which exists in the heart has to be known. So first you go down there, in the lotus-like structure, and within that there's a space. And what is within that space has to be known. So the Upanishads also laying down these symbols for meditation. It has to be inquired into for realization. If you want realization, you have to go down there. You cannot go it out through any other things. It is there only you will have to go. And then they say, now, they're saying, what is that which exists there? In that small space, in that small structure, within that small space, you have to enter there and find out what you need to realize. He's saying, this space within the heart, that lotus-like space, the lotus-like structure within which is a space, and there's some entity there within that space. Saying, now that space, he's saying, is as vast as this space outside. What? First they said it's a small space, tiny space. And then they say it's as vast as the space outside. It includes all the heavens and all the planes, etc. It includes the heavens and the earths and all the planes, as also the fire and air, both sun and moon and lightning and stars. What you see out in the external space, this space within is as vast as the space outside. And when we look up at the skies, first thing we see, okay, there's the moon and the stars, etc. And you might see a comet or something streaking across. This space outside is as vast as the space within inside. And then he says, whatever this one has here and whatever he has not, all that is included in that. That is, whatever karmas, whatever thoughts, whatever actions, everything that a person has and whatever he has not, all this is included in that space. In various mythological literature, you find, especially in the story where Krishna is, as a baby, is crawling about, and he has put some dirt in his mouth, and his mother Yashoda comes and tries to open his mouth to remove that dirt out. And as she opens his mouth, she sees floating in his mouth, the baby's mouth, the universe. Universes. And she's taken away. That was. Even in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, he sees, oh my God, all whatever exists is existing within you. In your body, I see everything there within you. So this external world of luminous objects, everything, and the space is vast. Now, whether it's expanding, we don't want to bother about that. But space is space. And now they are saying you cannot limit space. Before everything, there was space. Yeah. And maybe this universe is expanding into another universe, who knows? Who knows? But even if you take 50 million universes, we are living in one, or maybe 100 million. In Vedanta, they don't limit existence to one universe. Why should you? If God has created one universe, He can create infinite number of universes. We are not talking about multiverses. That's a scientific, a different idea. But they can exist multiple universes. And this is what makes somebody who's coming to Vedanta a little kind of shaky, saying, what is this? I thought existence was like this. And now we have to include all these. In the earlier days, thousands of years ago, we thought the earth was the center of the universe. See? And that's a commonplace view. Oh yeah, everything going around us. That's the universe for us. And then as human knowledge expanded and expanded and expanded, see what happened. That's a light of understanding. You know why our knowledge will expand and why we will know so many, many things? Because we have it already within us. Those sages, they went in and they discovered this space within the heart. So apparently, you go down a kind of a rabbit hole and enter into something vast. But this external world and this internal world will be in a kind of, it will be in sync. That's a better word. It will not be different. It cannot be different. So when you are meditating on the effulgent light within, this is the light you are supposed to meditate. You go down deep within your heart into that lotus-like structure, and within that lotus-like structure there is a space, and in that space the whole universe arises and exists there. So that is the effulgent light. But now the problem comes is, how do we realize this? So just remember that the Upanishads say that within the city of Brahman, so there in that space, that lotus-like, that's a city of Brahman, and there you enter and there's a radiant infinite being. Remember that also, which is immortal. The Bhagavad Gita is saying, I shall tell you clearly. You'll see how clearly the Lord says. That which is to be known. As the Upanishad said, that has to be known, that has to be inquired for realization. He's saying, I'll tell you what I should know. And only realizing which one attains immortality. And he says, that supreme Brahman is without beginning and without end. We can understand. That is that supreme Brahman there, within that space. It has to be known. It is neither called being or non-being. We thought it was being, it was reality, it was Sat. This is spoken of in the terms of, like, for instance, when Swami Vivekananda and Swami Abhedananda had gone to Bodh Gaya, where the Buddha attained enlightenment, and they returned from there, and then they were discussing Buddhistic philosophy, and they're saying whether Buddha was an atheist or no. So Sri Ramakrishna said, why atheist? He couldn't express that, what he saw. And after that, he says, there's a state beyond being and non-being. Swami Abhedananda said, Swami Abhedananda or Swami Vivekananda? So he's saying, oh, those are qualities or attributes of nature, Prakriti, not of Brahman. So it's a manifestation or a non-manifestation of nature. So it is beyond. It is neither called being or non-being, which are attributes of nature or prakriti or maya. So now, okay, that has to be known. Now, where is it? It has to be, you have to go in. Because the topic was on meditation. How you meditate, you go inside. But how do you go inside? Well, you can go through plunge in. There's a path. There's a shining path that goes through. Where does it lead you? From where does it start? And so he's saying, and the Lord, he's very clear. He's saying, though it is imperceptible, it is shining everywhere. Yeah, because consciousness shines everywhere. Through what? Through all the sense organs. It says, it is devoid of every limitations of the sense organs. Yet the organs shine because of that consciousness. Though it is a support of all. And then further he says, it is the enjoyer of all. It exists outside every being. It exists within. Now this is how the Upanishads speak of this reality. It exists outside and inside beings. It is moving and non-moving. It is incomprehensible due to its subtleness. It is also remote and near. So if you can break this contradiction, you will attain knowledge. You will see that which is near and far, which is moving and non-moving, that which is attached to the sense organs and mind, and yet is completely detached from it. Yet it is support of all. I hope now it's getting clearer for your meditation. I know. And it is knowable. This is what the Upanishads keep on saying. That has to be inquired into, that has to be known. So it's a knowable. It says, it appears divided amongst undivided things. It says, though undivided appears to be existing as divided in all beings, it is a sustainer of all, it is a devourer of all, and the originator of all. So whatever we see as being sustained, being born and dying, this is the support of everything. That tiny space there within you. Now we've got to change that qualification of tiny into that space. That space is vast. So in the day before yesterday, in the class, we were talking about self-knowledge. The closest thing we can understand all-pervading consciousness is space. And this has been extensively used as an illustration. Space is everywhere. It is there, yet it is ungraspable. We just cannot hold it. It's there. It's there. We exist because of it. So similarly, consciousness is there everywhere, and yet it is, that is what it is abstract. It's not concrete. And then it says, that is the light of even all the lights, all the sun, moon, etc., etc., etc. That's a light of even light. And then he says, it is beyond darkness. Thank God. And here he comes to a point. It is knowledge, it is knowable, and that which is known. It exists in a special way in the hearts of all. Here, so when you're meditating on the effulgent light, you're meditating on the very source of the whole universe. Yes, and you can imagine, oh, I'm such a small person meditating in a small corner, in a small room, and my mind is restless. If you can get this idea, you are meditating on the universe itself. And what's the universe like? You see, everything is so, this is the universe. Suns, moons, stars, Seattle, Washington, USA. This is the world. And then there's another world of my world, that's other world. So when you're supposed to be meditating on the universe of, what is the universe? So in the life of Sri Ramakrishna, we get a glimpse of it. So one day, Hriday was Sri Ramakrishna's nephew. In India, that aunt and uncle, everybody's auntie and everybody's uncle. But here, Hriday's grandmother was Sri Ramakrishna's father's sister. So it's a long story. We used to call him, Hriday used to call him uncle, so that's it. So one night he saw Sri Ramakrishna going to the pine grove, and thinking that he might be need an assistant or someone attendant, he follows him with a towel and a pot of water, because Sri Ramakrishna he wasn't germaphobe, but he always used to keep his hands and etc. clean. So as Hriday was following him, suddenly he saw, in his own words, he saw that the master was not a human being, that he was not composed of flesh and blood, and the entire Panchavati grove, the grove of 5 trees, was illumined by the light that was coming out from him. And he wasn't even, he was floating. His feet were not touching the ground. And then he says, this is a kind of optical illusion. He's rubbing his eyes, because we are told not to rub our eyes, but then he was rubbing his eyes again and again. And he, looking at Sri Ramakrishna's luminous body, emitting light, and he's seeing the other things around, the trees, the creepers, the Ganges, everything as they are, but they're lit up with the light of Sri Ramakrishna. And then he says, he started saying, what changes are happening in my mind? You're looking at it objectively, and then suddenly he's looking, because he sees his eyes are fine, okay, they're looking at distinct things. And he started reflecting, and he looked at his own body. And he found that he himself was also made of that same light. So he's saying, extremely amazed, he found that he was a part of that same light which was Sri Ramakrishna's. And then Swami Sharadananda says, He was an attendant and a companion of God, serving Him eternally, a part of Him, of His own person that Hriday had now become embodied. And his sole purpose of serving Him was to serve that light. Then he understood the mystery of his own existence. And that's what will happen. People think existence is mysterious, yes. He understood the mystery of his own existence, and his heart was flooded with bliss. He forgot himself, forgot everything. And then he started shouting out, Ramakrishna, Ramakrishna, oh Ramakrishna, we are not mortal beings. Why are we here? Let us go from country to country and set souls free. I also am what you are. So this is an experience that will come to everyone. That is the goal of actually human life. We said the human life, the goal of the human life is to see God. What do you mean see God? Is separate? No. You will find that you and that entity called God are of the same material. You cannot have duality here. Then you will know. So Hriday had this experience and he saw his own body of light. So when we look at our body, I've got this ache and I've got that pain, I've got this problem and that problem. Sometimes you wonder, what's happening? And this is the play of Maya. That light which the whole universe is being hidden, as it were, for now. So there are meditations where one, instead of just meditating on that effulgent being within, one meditates on oneself as light, as effulgence. Yes, you are the golden light. You're that golden light of consciousness that has kind of congealed in a way. And we can do that for 1 minute, 2 minutes, maybe an hour, and then later on, we'll come back. I've got this appointment, I've got to go. There, it's all gone. But Sri Ramakrishna, when he was yelling, Hriday was yelling out. And it's a noble, you can say, yell. Let us go from country to country and set souls free. You should have come here to the US. And the master said, I heard him shouting loudly. And then he says, stop, stop. People will come and they'll say, something is wrong here. But he didn't give a year. Hriday did not give a year to this. Kept on shouting, let's go. Because, that realization of himself as made of light, as one with Sri Ramakrishna was also made of light. Maybe that time the years don't function like years. Even if Sri Ramakrishna is saying, stop, stop, he's not stopping. Then he says, he goes and touches Hriday's heart. And he prays to Divine Mother. Mother, make this fellow dull and drab again. And that's what happened. Came down and he started weeping. Why did you do that? So the light which is in the heart now is now all over the body. As I mentioned, the Bhagavad Gita, shining through all the sense organs and the mind. It identified with the intellect, and it thinks as it were and shakes as it were. That consciousness is one, but it appears to be manifesting, non-manifesting, moving, non-moving, etc. So is that all? That's what we said, the universe. Yes, Sri Ramakrishna, when he was trying to experience this Kali, that whom he used to worship, he says that I couldn't stand anymore. I couldn't live without her vision. And then we know that he took that sword and he went to cut his own neck. And then he says, it was as if houses, doors, temples, and all other things vanished altogether, as if there was nothing whatsoever. And I saw a boundless, infinite sea of light. So he had a vision of the Divine Mother as an ocean of light. He's saying, in whichever directions I looked, there was all these waves that were moving on the surface of that ocean of light and rushing towards him. And they submerged him. And he lost. He's saying, I do not know how that day passed and the next, I do not know anything. But in my heart, there was a steady stream of bliss. So it was here that he had that vision of that ocean of light. So that space which is in the heart and which is as large as this outer space is not a material space. It is called in Vedanta Chidakash, the space of consciousness. This space of consciousness is here. It is not only there, it pervades this whole universe. So the whole universe is a mass of light. So when you're trying to meditate on the effulgence within, it also has, you're meditating on the effulgence outside as everything. And Sri Ramakrishna quite often is saying, I saw everything, the door, the windows, the floor, everything made of consciousness. When we go to Dakshineshwar and we go and see, oh, that floor is the marble floor, and the doorsill, that's the silver, there's a silver coating on that doorsill. And everything is all material. Sri Ramakrishna saw. Now, who is right? You know. So he saw everything, and he's saying, like a madman, I was taking flowers and throwing. It was not only in the state of the deepest absorption that he saw everything as a mass of consciousness, as light, but also in this waking state, as we say. He is conscious, not oblivious in the state of samadhi. So it is inside everything, it is outside everything. It appears divided, but it is not. It is undivided. It is far, it is near. So in the life of Sri Ramakrishna, you find this authentication of all these Upanishads and all these Bhagavad Gita teachings. And here we find that when we are now to come down to what is materialism. Now we know. We don't have to read about materialism. We are experiencing that. But that itself is a kind of a veil that has come between you and the reality. The reason why I kept on dwelling a little more on this, because we are trying to find what is the reality. It's there staring at you. It's there. And yet, we don't catch it. So if you go to Sri Ramakrishna, he'll give you that. And tell him not to touch your heart again and make you dull and drab. Is it replicated? It's only with the few that, no, it has been replicated over and over again. You will see everything inside and outside as that light of consciousness. And then you will see the sun, moon, stars, fire, lightning, etc., whatever, derives its existence. You derive your existence because of that light. And when we can understand it, that will be the goal of life. But we are so tiny, we are so small. Drop that illusion. You are that luminous, as the Upanishad says, that radiant infinite being. The radiant infinite being who is immortal. It was not speaking about something else. It was speaking about all of us. We are that radiant infinite being. As the Upanishad says, Ekahamsa, alone. This is the goal. And we hope as we approach nearer and nearer Sri Ramakrishna, he will give us that. Because Hridaya had gone, in the proximity of this, our own real nature will be awakened. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu. Okay, he was Rama, who was Krishna as Ramakrishna. Okay, yeah. Next Sunday's talk will be the self and its shadow. We talked about light. We'll talk about the shadow a little. This evening we have Ram Nam at 7 p.m. And this coming week, Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna on Wednesday, Gospel of the Holy Mother on Thursday. Please go online. That's a beautiful reading by Swami Brahmatmananda. Self-knowledge on Friday, 7 p.m. and Saturday, 10 a.m., 10 to 4. The special Karma Yoga at Tapovan. And this Vedanta Action team will be doing some Karma Yoga there. And also next Sunday at 4 p.m., you have Raka and her group of singers will be singing that. It's a devotional singing group. Om, peace, peace, peace. Those